So I'm a history professor. I'm employed full-time, and I adjuncted for a couple years up at NOC in Stillwater prior to coming to OC. And so basically what that means is I teach 4 classes a semester, and those class sizes range anywhere from 30 students per class to 3. I had a class last semester that literally had 3 people in it. It was really awkward when we had absences. But the 30 students, it's a little bit better. People can kind of sneak in and out. Not that they do that to me typically. Did have one person, but we got it squared away. So I love my job. I am good at my job. And while that's partly due to God having blessed me with talents, it's also due to the fact that God blessed me with people in my life who saw my potential and recognized a key thing about it. And that key thing is this. Just because you do things differently or you need help to do something, that doesn't mean being completely unable to do the thing. And people limit us, and we limit ourselves and other people by assuming that having a disability makes us incapable in all areas of life. And that simply isn't true. And we shouldn't allow our own limited imaginations to convince us that it is. I'm going to go into even more detail about my job now. So I use a laptop at work that is bigger than the laptops that all of my colleagues use. In fact, they just upgraded it for me this past semester. It's huge. And it's huge because, quite frankly, I need the bigger screen. And even with the bigger screen, I have my Zoom settings set like all the way as far as it'll go so that I can see what I'm doing. I use my cane, obviously, when I navigate around campus. I ask people to tell me their names if I'm in a group and they're talking. I have friends who will narrate for me if something happens visually that they think I might need to be aware of, like if somebody's playing games in the cafeteria, or if somebody dropped their food and they're laughing about it or something. And that's actually been a new experience for me. I hadn't had people do that before, and it's really nice. I appreciate it. I tend to use ebooks. I request those or purchase those. So I use ebooks and audiobooks in lieu of actual print textbooks for the courses I teach. I have a colleague who will bring me to and from work, help me run errands, etc. I also live close enough to campus that I can walk. And so that means that I have some say in when I leave for work, when I come home. And that's important too, because having autonomy is every bit as important as having access. And I need all of those things to do my job. But guess what? With all of those things, I do my job, and I do my job very well. And so having accommodations and using them isn't limiting. It's not something to be ashamed of. You aren't cheating or somehow getting ahead of non-disabled people. Because you use them, there's no unfair advantage there. You're using the tools that you need to be successful, and you're freeing yourself. And in fact, if people think otherwise, I'm going to quote Anne Shirley here and say that those people don't have much scope for imagination. Now, I also want to say that sometimes the ways that other people limit us with their limited imaginations is through devaluing our lived experiences and the kinds of goals, dreams, and lived realities that we have. What others see as limits, some of you may see as goals, and what other people see as goals, you may see as limits. I have colleagues in the hard sciences whose goals would, quite frankly, terrify me because I don't have skills in those areas, and that's okay. If I wanted to uproot my life and just go become an astronomer, I could do that, but quite frankly, I would need a whole bunch of tutoring, a whole bunch of help, and probably several assistive talking telescopes. I'm good with history. I'm just going to leave that to the science people. So you don't have to, let me back up, there you go. You don't have to want to do everything. You just have to want to do something. And everybody can't do everything, but everybody can do something. And what that something is totally up to you. And I also want to say that sometimes disabled people, particularly disabled people who have maybe multiple disabilities, they may have a really different looking life than other people, and that's totally fine. Some people may need more support than non-disabled people. Some of us might use alternative forms of communication or need, communication partners. Some people might need help performing, daily living skills. My mom actually still helps me with my housework when I get swamped, particularly when I'm grading like a whole bunch of papers. She comes up and rescues me, so shout out to my mom who's out there somewhere. So some people, might need round-the-clock care from parents or caregivers. Some people might not work conventional jobs. And to anybody who's in that situation, that's also okay. You still have worth, and everybody has worth because you're a person. And that means that you have value, regardless of your ability to, produce or not. You have value just because you're you. Everybody does. I'm a Christian, and so I believe that everybody was made in God's image, and then therefore are, in a sense, image bearers of God, and that includes disabled people. And so people let their limited imaginations limit us when they decide that somebody's life is worth less than another person's because one person can live a conventional seeming life and somebody else can't. And that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. Everybody has gifts and talents, even if those gifts and talents may look different. And some things that might seem, unconventional or minimal in comparison to other people, if that's something you're good at, that's great. Go for it. You shouldn't limit yourself by comparing yourself to others, and you also shouldn't let people limit you through comparing you to somebody else either. I'm not like my fellow colleague in the history department. There's only 2 of us because the university is that small. We do things really differently, and that's fine. I'm being, the best version of Dr. Emily Smith that I can be, and that's what matters. As long as the choices that you make are helping you to be the best version of you that you can be, then that's the important thing. And the best version of you might look really different than the best version of somebody else. It might look really different from me. And your best may change from one day to the next. And so the important thing is to not get stuck accepting the ways that others characterize us when those characterizations demonstrate a limited imagination on the part of the person making the characterizations. So in closing, I want to say this. Don't let anybody, including yourself, limit you. And don't let anyone, including yourself, put you in some kind of a preordained box, based on preconceived notions and limited imagination. Have dreams and have goals. Find something that makes you happy and go after it, whether that's a job, whether that's volunteering, or, enjoying your hobbies, being there for your friends and family. Whatever you do, strive to be the best version of you that you possibly can be. Then, like Einstein said, once we accept our limits, we go beyond them. Go beyond the limits that limited imaginations have, set before you. Thank you for having me.
Will the OSB graduating class of 2022 please stand? After examination of your records, I've determined that you meet graduation requirements and can now receive your diplomas.
Geraldine LaWayne Black. Lydia Grace Bradley. Audrey Lorraine Dabrowski. John Min Duong. Blazin Lee Sitterly. Tyler Min Duong. Miracle Janae Faith Jones. Benjamin Riley Middleton. Jacelyn Louise Shields.
I'd like to present to you the OSB 2022 graduates. I would like to thank you all for coming and enjoying this day with them. We will have a reception in the rec center following the recessional. Please stand for the recessional and let our graduates leave the room.